of this, commander, it's pretty incredible to think what happened. He's in that promotional video. He's put forth as the face, obviously crucial in Mariupol, and now here he is, seems assassinated. One of several Russians killed in explosions deep inside Russia in recent months. So how does a brazen killing like this right now influence Putin?
Well, Putin is at this point all in. He has clearly decided that he is going to wage this war very aggressively. He is not listening to his great friend Donald Trump. Trump thought that he was going to be able to persuade Putin. They had a 2-hour phone call. None of it mattered. Putin is in this because he has staked his reputation, his career, I would say even his position as president of Russia, on the idea that he is going to successfully prosecute this war. This is a kind of this is his imperial dream. He has turned Russia into essentially a war economy. So he can't really back down, and I don't think things like this are going to change that. What it does show you, Aaron, is how inventive the Ukrainians are being, as you were pointing out, how persistent they are. And by the way, for those who think the Ukrainians should stop fighting and accept some bad peace deal, this is what will happen. If the Ukrainians are forced to accept some kind of deal, they will keep fighting. They will launch an insurgency against Russia, and it'll have the characteristics of the drone strike we just saw.
So, when you mention what's at stake for Putin, Christo Grozev, and I know you know him, the investigative journalist who's on the wanted list in Russia, and he said that Putin cannot accept a peace deal. That, regardless of what his motivations may be, if he were to do that, that there would be, that he'd expected there would be a coup. That would be it for Putin's leadership in Russia. Do you agree?
Well, look, it depends on what kind of deal. If it's a humiliating deal for Russia, then I think Putin is in trouble. But I think there's also a problem. He has geared the entire economy onto this kind of autarkic war footing. He doesn't know it. He's riding a tiger now. He doesn't quite know how to get off. I think at the end of the day, most Russians would be so relieved to have an end to this that I'm not so sure that you'd have a coup. But clearly, he needs a deal where he can say he won.
Right.
That is very important to him. And right now, I don't think the Ukrainians are ready to give him that deal.
So the other day, I spoke to the president of Finland, obviously borders Russia, and they joined NATO after Putin invaded Ukraine. So I asked him in that context, Fareed, to respond specifically to the comment from President Trump excusing Putin's war, the invasion, the entire premise of it. Let me play what Trump said.
I believe that's the reason the war started, because Biden went out and said that they could join NATO, and he shouldn't have said that.
We've all heard that. It mimics the propaganda we've heard out of Putin himself. Here's what President Stubb said in response.
I think actually Putin made one of the biggest strategic and tactical mistakes in recent military history. He was trying to make Ukraine Russian. Well, it became European. He tried to split the European Union. I've never seen it more united. He tried to split the transatlantic partnership and especially NATO, and he ended up with neutral Sweden and Finland joining NATO.
Fareed, do you see any evidence that Trump maybe sees all of this differently, as he has become at least more publicly critical of Putin?
No, I think that he's been frustrated by the fact that, he essentially made every concession to Putin that Putin seemed to have asked for. Remember, the Russians asked for 3 things. They wanted to be able to hold on to all of the Ukraine they had conquered, which is about 20% of the country. Trump said, fine. They said Ukraine can't be a member of NATO. Trump said, yes, Ukraine will now not be a member of NATO. They said no American troops in Ukraine, guaranteeing its security. He said, fine, no American troops in Ukraine. So Trump gave Putin everything, and Putin is still not given Trump anything. It continues to be, what's striking about it, this is the most one-sided romance in diplomatic history. Trump keeps praising Putin, making concessions to him, talking about him as his great friend, and there you have Putin on the other side, stone cold sober, calculating his interests, never giving an inch, and it doesn't seem to change the way Trump looks at it. Look, don't believe me. Listen to his own former national security advisor, General McMaster, who said in his memoirs, after working for Donald Trump every day for a year as his national security advisor, the biggest puzzle that confounded me was what was the hold that Vladimir Putin had on Donald Trump. So no, I doubt that Trump has really changed.
It's really fascinating. And for him to have that question, that crucial, priceless question. Thank you so much, Fareed.